Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Orlando Santiago and I'm here with my model Melanie once again. And today we're going to be talking about, or actually piggybacking off of one of the segments that we've just done. One of the segments before this was actually how to structure and frame the brow for eyeshadow. So now in part two, we're going to get into eyeshadow. Okay? So now that we've had the structure and the frame of basically the eye done, it gives us a parameter. It gives us limitations. It tells us where to start with eyeshadow and also where to end, so on and so forth, right? All because of the brow. So think of it as a window, that window right there in New York City. You look at it, you can't put a piece of glass in it until you have the frame of the glass in order to measure it, to put it and install it. Same thing with here. This is the frame. I need this frame first so that I can go back in and install, so to speak, with the eyeshadow. Okay, so now we're gonna just go ahead and jump right into what it is that we want to do. So I'm actually going to do makeup or eye makeup on her according to her eye shape, okay, and eye characteristics, so to speak. So what I'm going to do is look at her eye shape. For me, it's an almond shape, right? If you can look closely into that camera right there, okay, it's an almond shape, and it basically says I have enough space to do something, but depends on what it is. So I can't go really over exaggerated, but I can see a crease. I can see the lid. I can see the separation. I can see the brow bone, right? So I'm not limited as far as what I can do. She has a great eye shape that enables me to kind of pretty much do whatever I want to do, okay? So I'm going to, though, however, even though it's an almond shape, it's still a little bit smaller. So what my goal is to try to open it or maximize the eye shape as much as possible. So I love playing with textures. I really want to, her eye lid, even though it's a great almond shape, is still a little smaller. I want to build off that. I want to bring some texture to her eye so that it kind of radiates and catches light. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to actually take something, again, something fun. We'll create a color. And again, it doesn't have to be natural or neutral. Now we're going to start to play up a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll take some of the blue. Right, we'll make something really soft and kind of spring trendy-ish, but we will add a little bit of some products into it to kind of make it fun. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit of gold of a shimmer texture into the baby blue, right? So that's creating a really soft and metallic. See that? It has somewhat of a fish scale texture. So we call that, say, like a sea green, sea foam green. Yeah, and it has a nice texture to it. So that's great. So what I'm going to do is add a drop of my Aqua Seal. Okay. And now I can get this thing going. Now, sheer the better, right? Because I'm using this, what we call a cream color base. It's the first color you apply before you apply eyeshadow. Why? Well, because it helps the intensity of the color become more vibrant. Okay. So what I'm going to do is take it and use it as a base color. I'm going to just take this and go all over. And look, I made this, okay? This wasn't made for me, right? So I'm taking this color. Cool, I love it. It's really nice, it's subtle, it's really pretty. Has a nice texture to it, so it has a metallic texture because of the gold. So what I'm going to do now is find a shadow that's comparable. So I'm choosing a beautiful blue and a beautiful green, right? Somewhere in between there. I'm going to get actually these two and a little bit of a lighter color. So all three together. 1, 2, 3. All right. Beautiful color, okay? So again, she has an almond shape. So with the almond shape, I can just do a beautiful color on the lid. Really play that up. Let's grab those same colors again. Green, little blue to make the seafoam green. And then we're adding that kind of neutral champagne color. Now, the reason why it's also grabbing onto the eye is also because there's a tacky texture that was left there from me mixing those creams together. So now, naturally, the eyeshadow, because it's powder, it's going to grab onto it. So not only does it build intensity, because you're adding a lot of the same color back over it in another form, meaning powder over cream, However, the color is going to be more radiant and it's going to last longer. Can you guys see that? Okay, it's really good. It's really important that you understand that. So I love the fact that it just really is popping right now. I can see that it's, even though it has a beautiful color and it's very bright, but it's also very symmetrical. So what I'm going to do is switch to a darker color. So now what I'm doing here is I'm grabbing my brown and a little bit of gold. And I'm going to throw in, just for kicks, I'm going to throw in a little bit of a red, so like somewhat orange because of the gold, so it's a little bit of a warmer brown. Let's throw some orange in there. Now, why would you think that I'm actually applying a little bit of an orange to the bottom? Well, because if you know your color theory, once again, you'll see that this darker and warmer orange against the blue, they pop each other out, right? The orange and the blue are the factors here. So I'm using a little color theory on top of the technique to create something dramatic but still beautiful at the same time, right? Harmonious. Look up. So now I'm going to the bottom. One thing is, don't worry about the bottom here because we haven't done any neutralization, we haven't done any concealing, we haven't done any of that. Go ahead, get your products on there and do what you have to do with the eye. If it smudges a little bit or if it does something you don't want it to do, that's okay. Okay? But I love that contrast, right? Especially when I go back and add a little bit of a brighter color in here, curl the lash, add some mascara or put some false lashes. This is going to be an amazing finish. Okay, now I'm switching brushes. And I'm going to go back and diffuse that area, okay? So it's also really important that you understand the power of your brushes. So it's like having a Ferrari with no wheels. Pointless, no matter how much you show it off, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm grabbing my pencil brush and look up. And I'm just going to diffuse this area right in here. Good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinforce just a little bit of a color. See that? Just like I reinforced the top where I did a cream, then a powder over, or an eyeshadow. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I did a cream underneath, and now I'm going to go with a softer, more matte eyeshadow. Taupes, deep brown, right? Take off the excess and really build it in. And I'm going from outer corner to inner corner. Now, when you do a drop shadow, what is a drop shadow, right? Drop shadow is basically when you're applying shadow underneath, not inside, but right underneath the lash line of the bottom eye. And usually when you apply that, then you're going back in with something lighter in the inner eye, right? And that is only to create the illusion of an eye that's slightly bigger, okay? And you want to do it as subtle as possible. You don't want to go crazy. We're going to go back and do what we call some erasing. Because the focus is right now on the brows and on the eye area, I'm not going to go back too much and spend too much time with neutralization. I'm just going to go conceal. And what I do is I use it as an eraser. So what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll kind of match as to which ones I think would be more or less her color. Let's see. So what I'll do is I will go and just go right underneath. Now, if you have the right makeup product, you should be able to just go over and conceal. Usually, the problem is that you don't want to look or feel made up. But if you also know how to go back and diffuse it, then you don't have to worry about it looking cakey, right? Because you've chosen a formula that is nice, works with the skin. In this case, I have. So what I'm going to do is go back and polish it up. Taking a wider brush and blending, right? Or you can also take a brush that has no product on it, right? Nothing on it, and blend it all out. So something like this. So in essence, you're merging the two blended pieces together, right? You're blending the eyeshadow, but also diffusing the concealer. So if you can see that, it becomes nice and bright, beautiful texture, right? Nice and neutralized, or I'm sorry, concealed, but I've maintained my eyeshadow. You can see even from afar, looks great, right? You can see the actual symmetry of the shadow. You can see the texture, you can see the warmth, but also you can see the teal and the blue. Now I'm going to dance around the skin to finish off. Just lightly applying coverage where needed, just to kind of even it all out. Now her skin is much more even, and I can really play on this. Now that her canvas, which is her skin, right? Everything around the eye area, everything looks clean, purposely done. I'm going to go ahead and powder just a bit. What I want to do is I want to powder out underneath her eye area, because I'm going to go back in and once again brighten it up. So take a translucent powder. I love the cat powder because it's very translucent.